Welcome to this complete Flutter tutorial, where we'll build a professional banking app UI from scratch. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have created a beautiful, modern banking interface with a gradient header, animated credit card, interactive action buttons, and a custom bottom navigation bar with a floating action button. Whether you're new to Flutter or looking to improve your UI skills, this step-by-step guide will teach you best practices for building production-ready mobile apps. Let's get started. Let's begin with the foundation of every Flutter app, the main function and app widget. The main function is your app's entry point. It calls run app with our root widget, which in this case is my app. This is standard for every Flutter application. My app is a stateless widget that returns a material app. Here we configure our app's title, remove the debug banner for a cleaner look, and set up our theme. Notice we're using Roboto as our font family for a modern, clean appearance. Before we build any UI, it's crucial to define our design constants. This is a best practice that ensures consistency throughout your app. We're defining two colors, primary blue and secondary blue. These will be used throughout our app for backgrounds, gradients, and active states. By defining them once here, we can easily change our entire color scheme later by modifying just these two values. Now we're getting to the heart of our app, the banking homepage. This is a stateful widget because we need to track which navigation item is selected. In our state class, we start with a simple integer to track the selected index. 0 means home is selected, 1 is account, 2 is the QR scanner, and so on. The onItemTapped method updates this state when the user taps a navigation item. Notice we're using setState. This is how Flutter knows to rebuild the UI with the new selection. The build method constructs our scaffold with several key components. The app bar has 0 height because we're using our custom header instead. The body contains our page content, which we'll explore shortly. The homepage content widget is beautifully simple. It's just a single child scroll view containing a column with our 4 main sections. Single child scroll view is important here because it makes our content scrollable. Without it, if the content exceeds the screen height, you'd get overflow errors. We're stacking our sections vertically: header, bank card, action grid, and transaction history. This creates a natural flow that guides the user's eye down the page. This approach of composing small, focused widgets into larger layouts is fundamental to Flutter development. Each section is self-contained and reusable. Now let's look at the bottom navigation bar. We're using bottom app bar instead of bottom navigation bar because it supports a notched design for our floating action button. The circular notched rectangle creates that elegant cutout you see. The Build's Nav Item method creates each navigation button. When an item is selected, it changes color to primary blue. This provides clear visual feedback to the user. Finally, our floating action button uses a gradient background for visual appeal. It's positioned in the center using center docked, which makes it sit perfectly in the notch we created. This navigation pattern is very popular in modern mobile apps because it's intuitive and looks professional. The header section demonstrates several important Flutter techniques. We're using a stack to layer our gradient background behind our content. The gradient container uses linear gradient to create a smooth color transition from secondary blue to primary blue. This creates visual depth and makes our header more engaging. On top of this, we have our content in a padding widget. We've broken this into two helper methods for better organization. The build top bar method creates our app title and action icons. Notice the circular icons with semi-transparent backgrounds. This is achieved using box decoration with a circular shape and opacity. This technique works great over gradient backgrounds. The build greeting method shows the user's name with a lock icon, suggesting security. We're using different font sizes and weights to create visual hierarchy. The greeting is smaller and lighter, while the name is larger and bold. Breaking these into separate methods makes our code much easier to read and maintain. Instead of one huge build method, we have small, focused functions that each do one thing well. The bank card widget is one of the most visually impressive parts of our app. It simulates a real credit card with all the details you'd expect. We start with a container that has rounded corners, a gradient background, and a drop shadow. The gradient goes from primary blue to secondary blue at a diagonal angle, creating that premium card look. Inside, we use a column with space between alignment. This automatically distributes our card elements evenly from top to bottom. The bill card top method shows the chip icon and Visa logo. We're using a material icon for the chip and styling the Visa text with italic, heavyweight, and a text shadow. These small details make it look authentic. The balance display uses two text widgets with different styles, a small label and a large, bold amount. This creates clear visual hierarchy so users immediately see their balance. The card number is masked with asterisks, just like a real banking app. We're using letter spacing to spread the digits apart, which is typical for card numbers. Finally, the card details show the holder name and expiry date on opposite sides using space between in a row. Everything uses white text with different opacities to create depth. Notice how we've broken this complex widget into smaller helper methods. This makes the code much easier to understand and modify later. Next, we have our action item class. This is a simple data model that holds information for each button in our action grid: an icon, a label, and a color. This demonstrates a key principle: separate your data from your UI. Finally, we define our action items list with 4 actions: transfer, payment, shop, and other. Each uses our defined constants. This makes our code more maintainable and easier to update. Remember, good developers don't hard code values throughout their app. They define constants and models first. The Action Grid section provides quick access to common banking actions. This uses Flutter's Grid View widget, which automatically arranges items in a grid layout. We set cross-axis count to 4, meaning 4 columns. The physics is set to never scrollable scroll physics, because this grid is inside our main scrollable area. We don't want nested scrolling. Shrink wrap is important here. It tells the grid view to only take up as much space as it needs, rather than trying to expand infinitely. Each grid item is an action button widget. We're mapping over our action items list to create these buttons, which is much cleaner than manually creating 4 separate buttons. Notice the child aspect ratio of 0.8 in the grid view. This makes the buttons slightly taller than they are wide, giving them a nice vertical proportion. The action button itself is wrapped in an inkwell for tap feedback. When tapped, it prints the action to the console. In a real app, you'd navigate to different screens here. The button design is clean and modern. White background, subtle shadow, icon, and label. When you tap it, the inkwell provides that nice ripple effect that users expect. The transaction history section shows recent transactions. In this tutorial version, we're using skeleton placeholders to simulate loading states. This is a great UX pattern you see in apps like Facebook and LinkedIn. The section header shows the title and a See All button. In a real app, this button would navigate to a full transaction history screen. We're using list.generate to create 5 transaction rows. This is more efficient than manually typing out 5 separate widgets. Each transaction row has 3 main parts: an icon placeholder, transaction details, and an amount. The icon sits in a small white container with rounded corners and a subtle shadow. The details section uses an expanded widget, so it takes up all available space between the icon and amount. This ensures consistent layout regardless of screen size. The skeleton container is a simple, reusable widget that creates those gray placeholder blocks. In a real app, you'd show these while loading data, then replace them with actual transaction information once loaded. This approach of showing skeleton screens instead of spinners creates a better user experience because it gives users a sense of the content structure while they wait. Finally, we have our utility widgets. The skeleton container is a perfect example of a reusable component. It's a simple container with a gray background and rounded corners. By accepting width, height, and radius as parameters, we can reuse this widget anywhere we need a placeholder. This demonstrates an important principle. If you're going to use similar UI elements multiple times, create a reusable widget. This makes your code DRY, don't repeat yourself. Building a library of these small, reusable components is how you speed up development over time. Instead of recreating common UI patterns, you just drop in your pre-built widgets. Congratulations! You've just built a complete banking app UI in Flutter. Let's recap what we've covered. We started with proper project structure, defining constants and data models first. Then we built a sophisticated navigation system with a custom bottom bar and floating action button. We created beautiful, gradient-based components like the header and credit card. We implemented an interactive action grid and transaction list with skeleton loading states. More importantly, you've learned best practices, breaking large widgets into smaller, focused components, using constants instead of hard-coded values, creating reusable utility widgets, and structuring your code for maintainability. These patterns and techniques apply to any Flutter app you build, not just banking apps. You can take this structure and adapt it for e-commerce, social media, or any other type of application. For next steps, try customizing the colors, adding navigation between screens, or connecting real data to the transaction list. The foundation you've built here is solid and production ready. If this tutorial helps you, please don't be shy to like and subscribe. You also may comment what UI you want to see next, or want another screen for banking apps. Thank you for following along, and happy coding!